We'll keep you feeling good with the best variety of the 80s, 90s, and today.
On 97.1 Wash FM.
Good morning, America. And breaking news this morning, the missile attack overnight striking a Syrian airbase. And if it wasn't the U.S., who was it? It comes after that alleged chemical attack killing dozens of civilians. And President Trump now calling Syrian President Assad an animal, promising a, quote, big price to be paid. Will he act next?
Facebook fail. The social giant set this morning to alert 87 million users that their private information was shared. This as Mark Zuckerberg heads to Washington to face tough questions on Capitol Hill.
Under fire. Self-help guru Tony Robbins facing fierce backlash over his comments about the Me Too movement.
I'm not knocking the Me Too movement. I'm knocking victimhood.
Now apologizing after this video went viral. What he's saying this morning.
The wild ride caught on camera, chasing a stolen church school bus, swerving all over the road, a teenager behind the wheel, and why the pastor is now refusing to press charges.
And it's April snow showers. 2 weeks into spring, this winter weather just won't quit. We're tracking more cold and snow for the Northeast and Midwest to start the week.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA.
Good morning, America. We're happy to have David join us this morning.
Thank you. Flash sale, one day only.
One day only. we'll take that. And Amy, welcome back from vacation.
Thank you.
I'm sure you thought you were going to come back to some warm weather.
Well, I was actually hoping so, but not so much.
Not so much, because you know what? We're all searching for spring, but winter is sticking around, everybody. It's frustrating some Americans this morning. And take a look at this. Yep, it is April 9th.
Crazy.
April 9th. Crazy is right. Hopefully, Rob could tell us when this weather will finally warm up.
He is standing by with that. But we also have breaking news this morning. We're going to begin with the dangerous international tensions over that horrific attack in Syria. And news now on that new strike on Syria after the suspected chemical attack killing 40 citizens, including women and children in the city of Douma, that's just outside the capital of Damascus. President Trump now issuing a series of threatening tweets saying President Putin, Russia, and Iran are responsible for backing animal Assad. Big price to pay. Russia now firing back this morning, calling reports of the attack a hoax and warning of serious consequences. So let's go right to ABC's Chief Global Affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, who's with us this morning. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, David. These images are so disturbing. The children, the families in such distress, and already there are claims of retaliation. Overnight, a watchdog group reporting 14 were killed in a missile attack on a Syrian airbase. Pentagon officials say the U.S. is not conducting airstrikes in Syria. Russia and Syria claiming Israel is responsible for the strike. This follows that suspected chemical attack in Syria on Saturday. These chilling images appear to show the aftermath. Medical workers washing off young children and infants who are struggling to breathe. Many of the images too graphic to show. Entire families appear to have been killed by the attack. Rebel activists and rescuers say at least 40 are dead, suffocating from an unknown substance. The suspected chemical attack came after a months-long siege on the rebel-held district of Douma, near the Syrian capital of Damascus. While U.S. intelligence is assessing the strike, President Trump called it a mindless chemical attack in a tweet and blamed President Putin, Russia, and Iran for backing animal Assad. His first denunciation of Russian President Vladimir Putin on Twitter. The White House not ruling out a military response.
I wouldn't take anything off the table. These are horrible photos. We're looking into the attack at this point.
It was just over a year ago when the images from this chemical attack in Syria led President Trump to order a missile strike on a Syrian military airfield in retaliation.
That crosses many, many lines beyond the red line.
But since that strike, according to Human Rights Watch, there have been at least 6 other suspected chemical attacks in Syria. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley saying the U.S. and 8 other nations will hold an emergency Security Council meeting today, tweeting strong action is needed. The regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad denies using chemical weapons, saying the videos are fabricated. And Russia is still backing Assad, warning that any military intervention could lead to the most serious consequences.
All right, so let's get right back to Martha, because Martha, you and I were on the air just over a week ago when President Trump suddenly announced on stage in Ohio, we'll be coming out of Syria. Words that surprised the Pentagon, the State Department at the time, and now this. He meets with top-level military leaders today.
He does, David. President Trump has a previously scheduled meeting with high-level military leaders at the White House. If the president decides on a military response, it could come quickly. Last year, the American military response took place less than 3 days after the chemical attacks. Trump's comments last week you were talking about were about the fight against ISIS. This suspected chemical attack is being blamed on the Syrian government. And David, as you know, given what the president has already tweeted and knowing how he responds to images, I would not be at all surprised if he ordered a missile strike this time as well.
We're going to be watching this very closely throughout the day. Martha, thank you. Let's get right to retired Marine Colonel and ABC News contributor Steve Ganyard. Colonel Ganyard, you heard Martha just report there that the last time the American response was just 3 days after the chemical attack. Did the president's strike on Syria a year ago, in essence, set a new red line here? Does it ratchet up the pressure to respond? And what could he go after?
David, the last time the U.S. struck, about a year ago, the Syrians for using chemical weapons, it was a warning. It really wasn't intended to degrade the Syrian military. So they have now crossed that line when the president told them, don't do it again. So the president is going to have to, if he takes military action, do something much broader, something much tougher. It will be a strike that will be much larger than what we saw a year ago.
So, Steve, if he does take action, what does the U.S. have there right now ready to go?
The U.S. keeps a lot of firepower in that part of the world, as you can imagine, David. There are ships at sea. There are submarines that are capable of shooting Tomahawk missiles. Bombers can be moved into the area quite easily. So if the president does order some kind of a military action, there's plenty of firepower on hand to conduct that.
And, Steve, as you heard at the top there, Assad now saying these videos are fabricated even as the world watches the suffering. You've got RT in Russia now reporting that Moscow is calling this fake news. How do you verify that a chemical attack, in fact, happened, and what kind of chemicals?
It's difficult, David. A real chemical attack investigation would take weeks because you have to get on the ground, you have to look at the soil, you have to do the chemical analysis. The president has asked the U.S. intelligence community to come up with an answer in 12 hours. That is going to be very difficult to do.
All right, he wants that answer in 12 hours. Steve, our thanks to you as well. Amy?
And David, with those words from President Trump last week saying that he wanted to pull troops out of Syria, let's go right now to ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega. Cecilia, this suspected chemical attack changing his thinking in any way?
Amy, this is the question for this White House right now, whether he has a changed thinking after seeing those images. As we've been saying all morning, this comes just days after the president said he wants to pull all 2,000 American troops out of Syria, much to the frustration of his own national security advisors. And now some Republicans say there is a direct connection between the president telegraphing those plans and what we are seeing on the ground there with those horrific images. Senator Lindsey Graham says, quote, it is no accident they used chemical weapons, but the president can reset the table here. He is calling this a defining moment for this administration. And take a look at what Senator John McCain has said. He's tweeting, the president's pledge to withdraw from Syria has only emboldened Assad, and that he should respond again, the president should respond again and make Assad pay a price for his brutality, Amy.
And Cecilia, we just heard from Martha Raddatz that President Trump will be meeting with his top military advisors today. What can we expect?
Well, as Martha said, this is a previously scheduled meeting, but certainly Syria is going to be at the top of the agenda. It happens here at the White House this evening, and we can tell you there will be cameras, at least at this point we expect, inside for some of that meeting. Today is National Security Advisor John Bolton's first day on the job, and as you guys know, he has been a known hawk, someone who has advocated for airstrikes against Syria in the past. Amy.
All right, we know you'll keep us updated, Cecilia. Thanks so much. Michael?
All right, thank you, Amy. Now to more snow in April. 2 weeks into spring, and winter is still sticking around, causing a lot of chaos on the roads. And our senior meteorologist, Rob Marciano, is tracking the latest. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning, Michael. Another Monday, another week closer to summer, as you mentioned, and we're still talking about snow. The grays, the whites, unwanted on the weather map, and this is what it looked like yesterday. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a record for the day of 5 inches of snowfall. Across Minnesota, we saw over 100 accidents. This spin out near I-94. There were some injuries with some of these crashes, and the Twins game called because of snow and cold on Sunday, and this across Mason City, Iowa. So even getting down across parts of the south. Louisville saw some snow yesterday. So the cold is just stuck up here, and the strong, very February-like jet stream kind of keeping it across the northern tier. So active pattern with more of these little disturbances coming through. Chicago seeing a little bit of snow this morning. Detroit as well. I mentioned Louisville. And then tonight, tomorrow, it gets into the northeast once again. Try to get a little coastal low going, and temperatures are marginal. We'll see a little bit of snow here at best, but it's still going to be very uncomfortable for the second week of April. Temperatures today feeling like they're in the teens and 20s, and tomorrow not a whole lot warmer. There's a little bit of hope, Michael, a little bit. We'll talk more about that later in the program.
Everyone here at the desk is shaking their head like there is no hope, Rob. But we're going to hang in there with you, my friend. I believe in you. You're going to turn it around at some point. And thank you for that. But now we're going to go to that Facebook privacy scandal. The social media giant says it will begin to alert those 87 million users today whose information was shared with Cambridge Analytica. ABC's chief business correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis, joined us. And Rebecca, good morning to you. And the big question, if you're one of those 87 million, how will you be alerted?
So today, Michael, everyone is going to see something new at the top of their news feed. Those who have been impacted are going to see that longer message that you see there on the right that will alert those 87 million people who might have been impacted by this Cambridge Analytica scandal. And then on the left, that's what everyone else will see at the top of their news feed. This is something that will allow you to see every app that you've ever given permission to, and you can follow the link there. Michael, it'll allow you to delete those apps if you no longer want them to access your information.
Okay, and now we're also hearing that another firm, a second firm, has been suspended for using the same tactics as Cambridge Analytica.
Eerily similar, Michael. This is a company called CubeU that was giving personality quizzes to its users, things called You Are What You Like or Apply Magic Sauce. These were personality quizzes that you could access on Facebook. All of a sudden, over the weekend, it was discovered that they might not be what they claimed to be, which was a nonprofit academic research organization. Instead, it looks like they might have been a marketer that was collecting this data to then sell it out to advertisers in a similar way that Cambridge Analytica uncovered their information. Since then, Facebook has suspended CubeU. They're pursuing a full investigation. They told me overnight that CubeU has two options at this point. Either they can comply with the investigation, or if they don't, they will be banned from the site. If they comply and it's found that there's an issue, they'll also be banned.
And all of this comes as Mark Zuckerberg is headed to Washington to testify.
He's going to be in Washington this week, and you can imagine it's going to be a very sincere grilling from lawmakers this week.
Absolutely. Rebecca, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Amy?
All right, Michael, turning now to two disturbing crashes. Frightening images of a bus crash breaking overnight here in New York. This is officials investigate into that devastating bus disaster in Canada, carrying a junior hockey team colliding with a tractor trailer, killing 15, including 10 players. ABC senior transportation correspondent David Curley joins us now with the latest on both of these crashes. Good morning to you, David.
Morning, Amy. First, this overnight bus crash. It was a bus full of students returning from a spring break trip to Europe. They had landed at JFK and they were on their way home to Long Island. Authorities say that the driver apparently wasn't familiar with the low bridges on the Southern State Parkway on Long Island. All 44 on board were hurt too seriously. As you can see, the large part of that roof just sheared off. But most of the minor injuries were minor. And now to that other crash where a young hockey team lost nearly half of their players in a crash just a couple of days ago.
Overnight, the Canadian Prime Minister and his son, just two of the thousands who came to remember the 15 hockey players and staff killed in that bus crash. Nearly every person in this small town of 6,000 touched in some way by the tragedy, the head coach among the dead.
He talked about the fact that the Humboldt Broncos were about not building hockey players, but creating amazing young men. And that's what we had in our organization, was amazing young men. And that was Darcy's belief.
The bus was heading to a hockey tournament Friday when it was hit in the side by a tractor trailer. 14 were injured, 3 critically, a powerful image of some of the players in the hospital. The cause of the crash is still being determined. Among the players killed, Jason Joseph, the 20-year-old son of former Pittsburgh Pirate Chris Joseph. Logan Schetz was the team captain and was just awarded Player of the Month. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip sending a note saying, quote, "Our thoughts and prayers are with those who have lost so much, with their families and with all Canadians who grieve with them at this difficult time." This morning, a GoFundMe page to help the families and the team has surpassed its $4 million goal.
We're going to need to be there for each other, not just weeks, not months, but it could be longer.
The truck driver survived and has been questioned by police. Over the weekend, the NHL paying tribute. Several teams wearing the jerseys of the Broncos.
And you could see the players tapping their sticks on the ice as a message to those who were lost. Authorities in Canada say they are looking at all possible causes, Amy, including the weather. No determination yet what caused that accident.
All right, David Curley, thanks so much. Your heart just breaks for everyone in that community.
Surpassing the $4 million mark shows that everyone is feeling this for them. All right, Amy, thank you. Now to a frantic multi-state manhunt this morning for a man accused of killing his own mother and a friend, sharing chilling details on a now deleted Facebook post. Police assuming the suspect is still on the loose, armed and dangerous. And ABC's Steve Osunsami joins us from Atlanta with the very latest. Hey, Steve.
Good morning to you, David. This Facebook post is disturbing. In it, this young man says he takes full responsibility for these alleged crimes and also says he's been suicidal since high school. Authorities across 3 states, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Georgia, are desperately searching for this 23-year-old who they believe is armed and dangerous. They say Casey Lawhorn has already killed. His mother and a friend are dead. Police say he called police himself to report the crimes.
He was calling in and saying that at the John Ross Road location about 3 hours ago, he killed 2 people and threatening to kill himself.
When police raced to this home outside Chattanooga, they found 2 victims with gunshot wounds, but no sign of Lawhorn except for what they're calling a digital confession that he left on his Facebook page and has since been deleted. Most of it is too difficult to share. This morning at around 1:30, I shot and killed my mother and a close friend of mine with a stolen .22. I'd hoped both were going to be quick and efficient. I didn't want my mom to suffer, to die in horror, to die with the knowledge that her son did it.
Suspect stating he has left the scene and is mentally unstable and suicidal at this time.
Late Sunday night, police found Lawhorn's abandoned car nearly 350 miles away near Vossburg, Mississippi. At first, they thought he had shot himself and was still inside the car. This morning, they're hoping to capture him alive.
We don't know where he's at. We're going to assume he's armed and dangerous.
Lawhorn claimed to have written that Facebook message from inside this car, adding that I've spent a lot of time thinking about murder, wondering what it feels like, but I've barely felt anything. Police say they've seen him driving a gold Taurus, at one point getting gas in Dade County, Georgia. David?
All right, still searching this morning. Steve Osunsami, our thanks to you.
All right, let's go to some good news. Masters, golf.
This is something.
Yeah, first-time champ. Yes, he is. Patrick Reed. Check this putt out. This is what clinched it for the 27-year-old on the 18th. I don't know if you putt, but that is a very nervous putt to have when you know it, they win the green jacket. But Reed won Augusta the hard way. He fought off an all-star list of professional golfers to earn that green jacket for himself. First, he took out Rory McIlroy, then Jordan Spieth, and finally, he had to overcome Ricky Fowler to win it. It was a homecoming of sorts for this young man who won the NCAA Division I golf title 2 years in a row, just a few miles away at Augusta State.
A couple of practice runs, just not far.
Exactly.
Maybe that's how you do it.
But good for him. And Rob, we gave you some practice runs on the weather.
We're done with it, though.
We're done with it.
I'm done with practice now. I got to perform. Patrick Reed, boy, that guy does not choke. Congratulations to him. A well-deserved green jacket and a great Sunday. It was chilly there across for the Masters. Yesterday, temperatures were in the 40s and 50s. But here you go. Here's your hope, at least for 3 days. Wednesday, towards the end of the week, temperatures 60s, 70s. Oh, 82 in D.C. Doesn't last. Doesn't last. Time now for your Select Cities, brought to you by Love's.
Ready for this? She doesn't like it. You've got to get in there. Like, careful not to get it in her eyes.
I know what a bath is.
Smile, honey.
This thing is like...
First kid. Here we go. Second kid.
Coming in, mommy?
Not a chance.
By their second kid, every parent is an expert and more likely to choose Love's than first-time parents. Love's with Nightlock Plus absorbs wetness faster than Huggies Snug and Dry for outstanding overnight protection at a fraction of the cost. Live, learn, and get Love's.
A new chill moved in over the weekend, and it is going to be sticking around for the next couple of days, probably through your Wednesday. Temperatures today only in the mid-40s, really more like mid-February across the area. And there could be a little flurry early morning, maybe a late day sprinkle. But look at this. After today, we're pretty much dry for the remainder of the work week. And look at your Thursday and Friday, mid-70s for high temperatures, 80 degrees on Friday, even Saturday for a cherry blossom parade that's coming up. So all in all, nice forecast as we get ready to warm up.
Ran after I mentioned 82 degrees and said it doesn't last. Coming up here on GMA, fierce backlash against popular life coach Tony Robbins for his comments on the Me Too movement, what he's now saying this morning.
And then that fatal fire at Trump Tower, killing one man and injuring 6 firefighters. The apartment with no sprinklers raising new concerns this morning.
People are taking steps to fight type 2 diabetes.